knees up? You said that's something you guys practice. What goes into that?
No, just something as a running back, just like with body control and everything. But in moments like that, it may all seem very fast, but at the end of the day, in the moment, those plays seem super slow, and you just know what you got to do to get the job done. And thankfully, I have the wisdom to keep my knees up, but just ultimately just landed out there off of the last play.
Great. Chip, thank you so much. Congratulations. Okay, that's it in here, folks. Thanks so much for everything.
Thank you, Jerry.
Welcome to the Sweatbox in South Bend. Take a look at these beautiful media quarters. Ohio State has just wrapped up a tough, hard-fought, thrilling last play, go-ahead touchdown win, 17-14 over Notre Dame. Chip Trainum is just closing up down here, and we're getting kicked out. I'm in this room. Great job with your media accommodations, Notre Dame. All the way around, fantastic effort. We're going to talk more about the game, but I will mention some of the other things that go on. Let's go out, sneak through here, Berm.
Thanks, man.
The touchdown score is coming through here.
Nope.
The former linebacker. Congrats to Chip Trainum, the game-winning touchdown. All right, 17-14. Ohio State is undefeated. They're 4-0. They beat Notre Dame. Mission Barbecue, by the way, out here as Ohio State wraps up. They're heading to the bus. Holy cow. Put your thoughts around that game. What a wild one for Ohio State as we wrap up down here. If snap judgments were a little weird, there's a reason for that. Wasn't sure what that outcome was going to be when it looked like Ohio State was going to be on the short end of a 14-10 loss here in South Bend. Sure will, yeah. More great help from Notre Dame with media protocols here. Super exciting, super fun. Ohio State, let's see who else is down here heading to the bus. Got Jordan Hancock. He wants 2 boxes to go for. He's earned it. He's played a physical game like that as Ohio State heads to these buses to go home with a big win. Let's start with Ryan Day. He went WWE style on Lou Holtz on the field and then came into the media room. I asked him the first question about it being a lunch pail performance. Yeah, I kind of teed it up a little bit, but I knew that that's what he wanted to talk and get off his chest. That is as fiery as I have ever seen him in any press conference situation. Really, really upset about what happened with Lou Holtz's comments, but not just that. All the national media picking Notre Dame to win this game, that they were going to run the ball. All these things, he rattled them off. He spent the last 48 hours, he said, thinking about that, and he was on edge. I know we've talked a ton in the past about, well, Ryan Day is a fiery competitor. He wants to win. You don't just always see it come out behind the cool, calm, collected demeanor. Maybe it's not such a bad thing if he brings that edge and starts talking about it more publicly. Looks like some rushmen heading towards the bus over here. Kind of a mixed bag. We're going to probably keep talking about the pass rush and all that stuff, and they gave up some rushing yardage, but it was a bend and don't break. I know that's a little bit of a cliche, but you give up 14 points on the road to a tough Notre Dame team, the defense is going to feel pretty good about that. So, Ryan Day, we start there with him feeling how tough this team is. Do you want to stick around here and see who else goes to the bus berm, or we want to move on? I know Kyle McCord is still in there, so let's look at the final numbers there for Kyle McCord. I talked to him in the hallway, that room that we came through. He peeled off to the side. I went there and followed him out because I wanted to know a little bit more about this 2-minute prep that Ohio State, Ryan Day and Kyle McCord went through all the way through Saturday, what those conversation was like. Maybe I'll just put some of that stuff more on the text, definitely on some of the message boards at ohiostate.rivals.com. But I thought it was an interesting conversation because game was on the line, and I was writing it down. I was like, you take over with 1:26 to go at the 35-yard line. You're down 4. There's no field goal that's going to save you. Screen is batted down. Missed on the sort of flare-out wheel to Travion Henderson. Those were 2 plays that could have set up for some pretty big gains. Now you're talking about third down conversions. Whole shot to Emeka Egbuka for a first down. Go through some of this stuff again. You have the intentional grounding, putting Ohio State back and in a tough situation as the clock winds down. Jim Knowles is in here talking to the media. Thanks, Jerry. We can pop into that and listen maybe for a minute. What's that? Now, We don't need to. We'll talk to him on Tuesday. Okay, maybe we will. We'll pop in for a little bit of Jim Knowles. Push the button, Berm, or is it good?
Last drive, we just had to, we made some adjustments. We had to get some guys, more guys down in the box. It's just the way the game was going. But JT made a couple of great. I mean, you need the guys that are going to make the big time plays at the crunch situation.
How surprised are you to pick
Yeah, I was surprised. Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised. They may have even had us when I watched the film and I looked at it. We were so committed to the run. I didn't think they could throw in that situation. But JT was the guy. When you have a veteran, a guy who makes plays, it comes down to crunch time. That's what
Those defensive tackles have taken defensive linemen really have taken a lot of heat this year already. To see one of them come over and play like that,
yeah, it's great. It's great. I mean, those guys work their tails off all the time. We're going to keep. We like the guys we have, and we're going to keep working, and we're going to see them show up.
All right, so that's a little bit of taste of a wild. Is this how most normal programs on the road accommodate media? No, it is not. This is probably bigger than Purdue, but for someone with as much money as Notre Dame, let me just tell you, I don't want to complain about it the whole time. We waited 45 minutes to get credentials. They've apparently never heard of the United States Postal Service or FedEx or UPS at Notre Dame. These are some lovely paper credentials. Multiple I saw already falling off. Everybody before the game even started. What are you doing, Notre Dame? What are you doing? You think that you're a national contender, a national program, and this is how you handle it? I mean, it's inexcusable. Berm and I were not able to do pregame keys, and you know why? Because we were waiting in line for 45 minutes to get credentials. Never seen that anywhere else. Great job, Notre Dame. Fantastic. Really cool stuff. We get 1 hour in here too, so this postgame is going to be a little bit disjointed and different than it normally is, but we're going to do what we can, and we're going to show you what we can here. So Jim Knowles in there. He'll probably go for a couple more minutes. I'm not sure how much more we need because we need to get moving. We have more stuff that we need to get. So we're in the concourse here. I was walking through, fighting the crowds to get to the post-game press conference. A lot of OHIO celebrations going on in here and some dejected Notre Dame fans. I know we got a ton of questions and we're trying to guess the percentage of Ohio State fans were going to be here. I think Notre Dame, there was a lot more green than I anticipated. I said, you were out there for the whole game, Berm. What was your vibe? I thought it was about 20%. 70-30, Berm said. Yeah. They were spread out a little bit. Buckeyes, all right, get reset here. 17-14. I was looking at Kyle McCord's stats when Jim Knowles came out. 21 of 37, 240 yards. Didn't have a passing touchdown. Should have. I think Emeka Egbuka, that ball was on the money, one of the better ones that we saw thrown tonight. Didn't work out for Ohio State. Part of the situation that they had, to recover from and come back from down the stretch. Short yardage and red zone. What else can you say about it? It's maybe going to be overshadowed, at least in the immediate aftermath of this win, that they needed to get a yard and they got it. Notre Dame, it appeared, had 10 men on the field for that play, and Chip Trayanum ran right where a defensive end or defensive lineman should have been. So Ohio State got the yard that it needed. It's still, I'm a little bit baffled about what's happening in those red zone and short yardage situations. It almost cost them the game earlier on the previous drive. They marched down there and they went 4th and 1 with the end around to Emeka. You can, I think, give credit to Ohio State for trying new things. They did the end around to Emeka. In the first half, they had Caden Curry go in the game as a lead blocker at fullback. They threw in Luke Montgomery as an extra blocker, and none of that stuff worked. They get stuff down there in the red zone, head scratching. The offensive line has to play better in that situation. You have to get push. You should be able to run straight ahead and get that yard or run a QB sneak. Ultimately, it didn't matter. Ohio State was able to overcome that. The same way that we can talk about, what I said about the defensive line and the rush defense, that they made the plays that they had to down the stretch. You're good. We're in the way of your work. Thank you for what you do. They're cleaning up down here in this in the bowels of Notre Dame Stadium as we head up to the press box where there is a very nice patio. Berm and I are going to record snap judgments there. But anyway, the point is,
Hell yeah!
Papa John's, they said? Press box, please. All right. Take this ride all the way to the 9th floor and wind down. Thank you for all your help with the elevator tonight.
Oh, thank you.
Just filming a little post-game content.
Okay.
Does it annoy you that you can't watch or listen to the game in here?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
But usually once the game starts, you can go between floors.
Sorry, you don't have to be on camera if you don't want to be. But this guy wants to, you can tell.
Yeah, we have the TV.
Okay. Oh, you have a TV?
See the
Oh,
TV.
so you can stay updated. All right.
Kind
Berm,
of.
that's,
We can only stay here until.
You're just getting, updates every 5 minutes.
Basically.
2 minutes. All right. Well,
I missed the last play though.
I missed it too.
well,
I heard people react.
that may have been better for you all, but thank.
No, I'm not.
Uh-oh, there, she's a Buckeye. Thank you. Have a good night. All right, so back. This is where the magic really happens and where I was scrambling. All right. This game was so crazy. I would like to go through all the plays that I wrote in the notebook, but I don't think I'm going to be able to. And then Berm and I think, are going to go quite long on snap judgments. There is a lot to discuss about this game. So this was what I thought was one of the cooler parts of this stadium, and where they told us that we could shoot some stand-ups, and we will. TV's Dave Holmes is already live over here. All right, this patio was pretty cool before the game. We're going to shoot some snap judgments up here, try and stay out of all of their shots. Go through the players of the game here that I think real quick, aside from Kyle McCord. A lot of angry traffic out there, some road rage happening. It's dark up here. I actually can't read the notebook in this light. I don't know. This game was crazy. It's hard to process everything that went on. Going to put more of that Kyle McCord 2-minute drill. Chip Trainum winning the game. I mean, the defense had to get a stop too. Strange. Notre Dame was in a position to put that game away, and they couldn't do it with the football in their hands. Situation was right there for the taking. They couldn't. Ohio State takes both ends of this home and home series, and Ryan Day made no bones about how important that was to him to beat Notre Dame. We talked about sort of the Marcus Freeman and Ryan Day back and forth earlier in the week and how important this was for him, to him, for both programs. This one's going to sting for Notre Dame. There's no question about that. They were 3 seconds away from getting a big win that would stamp them as a college football playoff contender. It would be huge for their resume. That's gone. You can say that they acquitted themselves well against Ohio State. They absolutely did. But ultimately they lost. Some of the narratives that Ryan Day is upset about, those will probably continue. People are going to keep talking about that. They're not going to magically stop just because of one win at Notre Dame. But for Notre Dame, they're going to fight some of that too, because they had a chance to really plant a flag, do something that would be significant for them moving forward. They couldn't do it, and they had a lot of chances to do so. Ohio State did not play an A game by any stretch of the imagination. It did take, 41 plus minutes before the defense allowed a touchdown in Notre Dame. You would think in those situations that Ohio State would have come out and run away with this game. They didn't do that. You can give credit to Notre Dame for that. To me, in the moment, it felt like Ohio State was letting that happen, allowing that to happen to them. And there are things that they're going to have to correct moving forward, but they're 4-0. They get to do it. They get to make those corrections and adjustments and feel better about themselves as a win. The locker room that was right there by the media room was as loud as I can remember. It did help because they were right next to each other, but that happens in a lot of these road venues. The music, they were pounding on the walls as soon as they got in there. They cranked up I believe Morgan Wallen was the first one on speakers. A lot of country music that was pumped up there for those guys as they did not really want to leave the locker room. The fact that Berm and I were still down there to start the notebook and there were still players coming out of the locker room tells you how much they enjoyed that experience. Normally, think about Indiana. Those guys wrapped up media, they were gone, on the bus and out of here. That was not the case tonight. They wanted to enjoy it. I saw Marvin Harrison coming out of the locker room. Scary situation there with the ankle injury. He was in the medical tent for I don't know, 7-8 minutes, checked out by 3 different trainers. He did ultimately go back in the game. He was taped up. Probably not going to feel real good tomorrow, but the good news for Ohio State is they have the off date to get him healthy and rested for Maryland in 2 weeks. Kyle McCord, again, I talked to afterwards, he was banged up. He had a huge gash on his left arm. He could barely walk. He was, hobbling just like me coming out of that game, but he got it in a win, and he's now 4-0 as the full-time, 2-0 as a full-time starter, 4-0 as the starter for Ohio State, 5-0 in his career, and he's still got a chance to keep growing and keep getting better. He made such clutch throws for Ohio State to sneak out of here with that win. We're going to talk a lot more about that because we have 2 weeks before the next game. But I'm going to wind things down here because Notre Dame kicks the media out 1 hour after the press conferences. Who does that? Absolutely insane what this prestigious, quote-unquote, program does. Maybe they feel like they don't need to help the media do their jobs and they don't appreciate the coverage. But whatever. We'll be back in the horseshoe, and we know how that's going to work in 2 weeks with all of the logistics. Can't wait for that. Ohio State 4-0, 17-14. They beat Notre Dame in South Bend, Indiana. This has been The Notebook on the podcast. I will talk to you later.